Hey guys, how's it going? Otaku Mike here, back again for the Otakuology podcast. If you don't know what the Otakuology podcast is, we talk about anime, manga, comics, all kinds of nerdy things. And we are talking about another manga today. It seems like we're going on a little trend here. We're talking about another fantasy manga that was a light novel. We've done quite a bit of those recently.
It's true.
But I'm your host, Otaku Mike.
And they're all almost isekais, so.
And I'm here with my co-host, who that is right there. That is Jen Graves.
Hey guys, that's it.
That is true, because we talked about Shield Hero a week or two ago. We talked about Goblin Slayer last week, which that's a light novel as well. You know, I think the only one that hasn't been a light novel, which was Tales of Wedding Rings, right?
Exactly.
Yeah. But today we are looking at a series or first volume that I personally have enjoyed for a couple of years now. And I have been wanting Jen to read this for quite some time. He's been putting it off.
He's been beating me up. He's been beating me up about it.
He's been putting it off for, God, it seems like over a year or two now. And I'm like, Jen, you gotta read this. This is right up your alley. And he just,
I've probably been putting it off since you read it.
And just recently, within like a day or so, Jen was like, "Hey, have you seen this anime called Mushoku Tensei?"
No bullshit. I'm call bullshit on that one. I was like, "Hey, I finally got into Mushoku Tensei," and you're like, "What?"
Turns out Mushoku Tensei is on Hulu now, which I did not know it was on Hulu. Which, that's pretty cool.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Right.
But this is another isekai. You can read the light novel, check out the manga, watch the anime. You know, but let's get into this. Do you have your book in front of you?
I do. Where's your book at?
It's right in front of me.
So upset with you.
Do you want to read us the synopsis on the back?
Definitely.
All right.
So at the top, we have a second chance in a new world, which isn't that how all isekais are?
Yeah, but this one's a little different. I would say a little different with a little twist.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So this one says, just as an unemployed otaku reaches a dead end in life and decides that it's time to turn over a new leaf, he gets hit by a truck and dies. Shockingly, he finds himself reborn into an infant's body in a strange new world of swords and magic. His new identity is Rudeus Grayrat, but he still retains the memories of his previous life. Follow Rudeus from infancy to adulthood as he makes use of his past experience to forge ahead in this new world as a true prodigy, gifted with maturity beyond his years and a natural-born talent for magic. Can Rudeus redeem himself in this wondrous yet dangerous land?
Yeah, that's our synopsis for this book. So let's.
Yep. Artwork by Fujikawa Yuka and story by Rifujin na Magonote.
Magonote?
I don't know. You say that name. Say the storyteller's story by the guy.
Rifujin na Magonote. Magonote. Maybe we should stop trying to pronounce their names.
I don't know. I think that's actually my favorite part.
Whoa. Tone it down a bit. You're getting a little loud. Don't get too excited. Your wavelengths are going everywhere. All right, come on. So let's get into this manga, shall we?
Yeah.
So our manga starts out where we see this guy. he is what we would call a hikikomori or a neat. He is sitting in his own filth, looking at this computer, eating some noodles, and we find out that his parents have just died, and his brothers and sisters come up to his room, and he missed his own parents' funeral because he refuses to leave his room for to go out into the outside world. And they're basically like, "You're this piece of shit. You decided to stay here and do all this stuff in your room, not contribute to society whatsoever, and you missed our parents' funeral. What is up with that, you know?" So they kick him
Right.
out. They kick him out in the rain. And he's like, "Well, what the fuck am I going to do? I'm, nothing, I can't
Which
do anything."
which the weird thing between the anime and the manga, they kick him out and he's in a pair of socks, right?
Oh, yeah.
And then we go farther in where the accident actually happens and he's wearing shoes.
Maybe they threw shoes out. We just didn't see
Right?
him throw shoes out. You know.
But here's the weird thing. How come in the anime it doesn't really bring up that he got thrown out of his house for any reason, but he didn't have any shoes at that point.
Well, in the anime, there's also one thing that's different than the manga. In the manga, he's on like some like message boards saying how he doesn't want to deal with people and society. If you look on the screen in the anime when he's looking at the computer, he's watching like a girl take a piss on a toilet. He's watching like
I
pee
don't know
porn.
if I know. I don't know if I
Yeah.
noticed that.
Yeah. And they call him like a degenerate and stuff. Yeah. So that's one difference between the anime and the manga that I noticed because I actually watched the anime recently. Um, and so he
No,
sees like
not the people.
this lovers quarrel between these two guys and this girl, and he's like, for some reason they're standing out in the middle of the road, and he's like, hey, there's a truck coming, and he goes to push them out of the way, and we get the whole Yusuke Urameshi diving in front of a truck to save somebody scenario, and he dies.
Right,
He dies.
right,
Yeah, and he's like, "Well, I guess I'm gonna die a virgin. The only good thing I'm ever gonna do is save this one person." And
right,
yeah, and we turn the page and we wake up, or he wakes up, and he is now a baby.
right. Which
Yeah,
is,
yeah, it's pretty
I
crazy.
think there's, I think there's, I think there's only one other one where I've seen that where somebody wakes up in a child form.
Yeah, but he's like a baby. He can't do anything, you know.
Right. Uh, well, Remonster does it as he's a baby goblin, but
Yeah,
like nothing else. Everything else is like you wake up and you're already like matured and have all this power and everything else. So I think that's probably one of the things that I like the most because it's one of the things I like in Remonster the most. Um, I think that's one of the things I like the most in this one though as well is that he has to build up his power. It's not like
yeah.
he comes in the world and it's granted to him. You know.
So we find our new character who now has a name, who is named Rudeus Grayrat, or Rudy for short. He is now a child. We see him
Wait,
sort.
wait. I have a
What?
side question for you.
What?
Whenever they finally gave him his name in the anime and stuff or whatever, where you got to this part, did you ever sit there like the movie and go, Rudy, Rudy?
No, no, because I didn't put two and two together.
I did. So
All right. Well, good. Maybe Sean Austin will play Rudy's Gray Rat for the Mushoku Tensei movie.
oh my god. I mean he did play Samwise, so I
Yeah.
guess.
You can play him when he's like older.
Right. I'm an adult.
I'm an adult. But we find out, or he finds out, that he is in this new world of swords and sorcery, and he has two parents who they were. I can't remember if they were both. They were both adventurers, and
Yes.
then his mom was a Zenith. Is that her name? I think it's Zenith, and then
A,
Paul.
a Zenith.
Zenith and Paul. Sorry, Zenith.
Okay, yeah.
Yeah, Zenith is a mage or wizard, and Paul is a swordsman or a knight. And they fall in love and had a kid. And I think Paul might still be active as an adventurer. I don't know if Zenith is still active.
No, what they both are now is Zenith is like a stay at home mother because they have one maid, and Paul is um, the town guard for the town that they live
Okay,
in.
okay, that's what it was. Okay, it's been a while since I've read
Yeah,
this
yeah.
manga, so I couldn't remember exactly what he
I
was.
thought you watched the anime.
I mean, I've watched some of the anime. I haven't watched all of it. I watched the first couple episodes. Okay, give me a fucking break
It's in
here.
the,
Okay, I'm on
it's
like
in the
episode.
first couple
I'm
episodes.
on like episode fucking 5. Okay,
You only have 11 episodes.
I know. I have to watch it alone because there's some adult stuff in that one. Okay.
I feel really weird how fast we go through his like age in it.
Oh yeah,
You
yeah.
know, because I'm sitting there like and rereading or not rereading, reading the manga versus watching the anime for the first time. I'm like, man, I feel like this is a lot slower pace. Like
Oh,
we're this old,
the manga is a little bit slower paced. Within the anime, it's the first couple of volumes of manga are like the first couple episodes.
right?
It's yeah. But Rudy is in this world. He's what, like 3 or 4, I think it is, and he starts messing around with magic. And he starts by using the magic technique called water ball, and he starts doing it, and he's like, okay, well, I think I got the hang of this. I'm gonna use water cannon, and he like blows a hole through the wall. And this is one thing I like in this manga. I love how they show the movement and like the interaction like these people have with magic itself. Like I like the magic effects always look so cool in this manga. And
Right.
and he blows a hole through the wall, and his parents are like, "What the hell's going on?" And they're made is it Lila, I think her name is, right?
Yeah, it's either Lila or Lilith.
I think it's Lila. They're like, "Oh," she's like, "Oh, I found this book next to Master Rudy." And his dad is like, "What did you do this, Rudy?" And his mom comes up to him. He's like, Do you know how to read this? Have you been learning magic?" And he's like, he's thinking in his head, and he says, "In my old life, I would just lie and make up a story. I think I'm going to tell the
Right.
truth now."
Right.
And he's like, "Yeah, I taught myself how to read and like this magic." And she's like, "Oh my god, my child is a prodigy. This is the most
Right.
amazing thing ever."
And then you get that whole. I feel like this is kind of the next part is kind of the whole argument between like when you find out you're pregnant and then
Yeah,
when everybody goes, um, is it a boy or is it going to be a girl? You know,
yeah,
everybody starts like taking lots on it or whatever. Because then you get the whole thing with Paul, and he's like, "We agreed, in it that if it was a boy, he would be a swordsman, and
yeah.
if it was a girl, he would be a mage."
Which Paul, a little sexist, not gonna lie. When it comes to the roles in his family, what men and women can do, just saying. Uh, but
Yes.
their maid Lila says, "Hey, look, there's a simple compromise here. He can be a mage or do his magic training in the morning. Then in the afternoon, he'll have swordsmanship training. And they're like, "Oh my
Right.
god, we need to find a teacher for our kid." And they find a young woman who is a demon. Her name is Roxy, and Roxy is a water mage, I believe. Like that's her specialty is
Yeah.
like water, because Rudy has started learning the water elements. You know,
Yeah. Water and I think healing magic.
yeah, something like that. And so she shows up to their house, and she's like, "Hey, who is the person I am supposed to teach? And they're like, oh, you're going to teach our son right here. And she's like, oh, look, another child prodigy. Their parents think that this child's the best thing ever, who knows all this magic, so we got to teach him all this stuff. Little do they know he sucks. And it's,
Right.
I think that whole scene's funny. She like says it out loud, like under her breath, and they're like, we can hear you. You know that, right?
Right.
So what happens next, Jen? What happens after Roxy gets there?
They start practicing and everything,
Mm-hmm.
and he ends up. She finds out that he is basically a prodigy because he can do spell casting without
Yeah,
chanting.
yeah, that's true. Which is not normal for mages to be able to do. Usually, correct me if I'm wrong, they usually have to say an incantation to
Yes.
use a spell, right?
Yes. Which again, like we were talking about earlier, it seems to be a reoccurring theme in most of what we're actually reading or
Hmm.
reviewing and everything. Because like in Goblin Slayer, our priestess is basically the same way. Like she has to chant um,
Hmm.
the thing to the Earth Mother or whatever.
Hmm. And it was kind of like in this, he had to chant it at first or say it at first, and then he actually does this one step where he like shortens the saying and does it anyways.
Yeah, with her.
And Roxy is like, "Oh my god, like this isn't normal. Like
Right,
you with this one step, you've kind of surpassed me already."
right. Which I love where she brings that up to him too.
Yeah.
She goes, how long have you been skipping steps? And he goes, oh well, usually I don't say it at all. And then you just see this whole
Like, "Oh
like
my god, this is like
yeah,
oh, like this kid is just like too good." I like she starts to like question herself on whether or not she's like worthy to be a teacher.
right,
And he's like, "No, like you're fine, you're perfectly fine." And he just wants her around because he thinks she's hot.
right.
He wants to, as he quotes it, he wants to get that lolly wizard.
Oh my god.
And I was like,
Yeah,
oh man.
right.
I think she's older than him by like a lot, if I remember
Yeah.
correctly.
Well, so this is going off of what it says in anime because I can't remember what they said in this.
Uh-huh.
But whenever it's way in the future. Whenever they make a trip to her village or
Hmm.
whatever, I can't remember how old they said her dad was, but they said her mom was 105,
Yeah.
and so I think I think in their civilization that would mean like she's almost like 21 or something when she had Roxy,
Yeah, something
or
like
that
that.
she is 21, so that means she would have had Roxy like pretty early. And I really think Roxy is like in her 50s.
Yeah, something like that. But I like this whole scene where they're in the garden, they're practicing, and they use the
But
tree as like a target,
oh
and she
no,
like she like blows up the tree, and he's like, "Hey, that's my mom's favorite tree." My dad basically got his ass kicked when he accidentally cut one of the branches off, and she like blew up this tree. And I like this whole scenario where she goes over and she uses her healing magic to heal and put together the tree, which I thought that was a really cool twist on magic itself.
yeah,
Instead,
just for healing magic,
yeah, instead of just healing people, you can heal potentially other living things.
right,
Because trees are alive technically. You know,
right,
and so he does the same thing, and he blows up the tree as well. And I just love their depiction of magic in this world. It just, especially when they're like fighting and stuff,
yeah,
it's it just looks really really good
right,
in this. And then we get more studying from Rudy and Roxy, and Roxy tells him about the Superb, and they are a race of demons. And this is where you find out Roxy is actually a demon, And she's like, if you actually see one of these people in real life, they have green hair and a gem on their forehead. She's like, run away. These people are bad news. You don't know what you're doing. Like they'll eat you alive. Eat all your people and kill you. They're like a bad race of demons. Is this
Yeah.
where we get where she leaves? And after she leaves, he starts hearing his dad and mom like go at it.
No, I'm pretty sure he hears them like the whole time.
Okay.
That was something I was like,
Because
it,
they start talking about demons, and because he starts to um he's excuse me, she starts to teach him during the nighttime as well, or in the evening, and tells him more about like magic history and demons and the world of demons and stuff like that. And then we get this scene where like he hears his mom and dad like having sex really loudly,
right.
and he's like, oh man, I'm gonna go mess with them to and be like, oh god, what are you guys doing? Because he really just wants to see them because he's kind of like a pervert. And I don't
Right.
know if they ever state why she does this, but Roxy is outside of their room, like peeking into their room and like pleasuring herself. Do you know why she does this?
I think it's because she's never been with anybody.
Okay, because that was a weird scene that doesn't get addressed for quite some time. At least I haven't
Well,
seen it get addressed.
well, I think, I think in a way it gets addressed. I don't think it gets addressed with Roxy though.
Okay,
I
okay,
think, I think you like people know how like with him and everything as well, including Roxy and including the maid. I think all of it kind of goes hand in hand together. Like, um, it's Paul
mm-hmm.
and how
Wait,
vivacious,
uh, Paul's a horn dog.
yeah, how vivaciously sexual he
I
is.
don't. I want to wait to get to that twist in the story. Well, till we tell what happens to Paul.
Yeah, so I feel like with all that, it was kind of a foreshadowing moment for
Uh-huh.
what we're going to go into.
Okay, because I couldn't remember exactly if they ever addressed that particularly. Because I saw it in the anime and I was like, "What? That's weird." I don't remember that in the manga, and I saw the manga and I was like, "Oh, okay, that was addressed, kind of."
Yeah,
But they never addressed why she was sitting outside their door, like creeping on
you
them.
know,
That was weird.
better view.
Better view, yeah. But so he goes back, he goes to study some more. He's like, oh, I'm not going to mess with this. We find out that it's Rudy's 5th birthday. So he is 5 years old now. Some time has passed. And in this world, they only celebrate
Groups
birthdays
of
in,
five.
yeah, birthdays in groups of 5. So like 5, 15, whatever.
Yeah, 5, 10, 15,
5, 10,
20.
15. And so they have this really big party, not really party, gathering, and they celebrate his birthday. And Rudy, his dad gives him a sword. His mom gives him, I think, like a magic book. I think
Yeah,
it is, and
yeah,
Roxy gives him a wand because
yeah,
every master makes their apprentice a wand.
yes,
And she's like, look, like you've surpassed me in every single way. Tomorrow we're gonna have your graduation.
yes.
And he's like, what are you talking about? We have graduation.
I'm not ready for you to go yet.
Yeah, I'm not ready for you to like leave. You're my master. Do you want to get into this part where they actually go and have their graduation test?
Definitely.
All right.
So, uh, we also have to address the fact of because of the hikikomori lifestyle that he lived in his previous life,
Yeah,
that has now made him scared to actually go out into the world. So he's never actually left the house or the grounds that the house is on.
that's true.
And
Because
so Roxy basically tells him, "Hey, we are going to go to the other side of town, where there's basically this big field, and we won't have to worry about anything. and we have to go there. And so
Yeah.
she ends up getting him on the horse, which the horse has a special name too. I can't remember the horse's name.
I don't. They don't say the horse's name in the manga. It's only in
Okay.
the anime.
Okay.
Which
Um,
the scene coming up is completely different from the manga and the anime. Which I
right.
kind of want to address that when we get to it.
Right. So they do go. They go out to
Like
the
middle of
place.
nowhere.
Yeah, out into a field,
Hmm.
and they go and find, or they go and they tie the horse to a tree so that they can practice the spell.
Hmm.
And it's basically this big cumulonimbus cloud spell.
Hmm.
And Roxy tells him, "Hey, I can only perform this once. Um, so if you can't do it after that, then that's basically the only chance you get.
Hmm.
So watch closely, and we will see where it goes."
Yeah.
So she performs it, and this is where it diverges between the anime and the manga because hers turns into like a thunderstorm and ends
Yeah.
up almost half killing the horse.
The horse gets electrocuted in the
Yeah,
anime, but in the manga, Rudy's the only one who does the spell actually,
right.
and he does it, and she's like, "Oh no, you got to keep doing it." And he's like, "Oh wait, no." He's like, "No, I did it. It's fine." And she notices that he did it like perfectly,
Right.
and this is where we find out that okay, yeah, he is ready to graduate and move on with his magical training. And one thing I have to say, like this, like when you see his flashbacks, but then when he was a hikikomori in his actual life, it kind of makes him really sympathetic. From
Yeah.
like the people teasing him, stripping him naked at school. There was a whole part where they strip him naked and like they tie him to a fence, and they just sit
Yeah.
there and just, like start taking pictures of him, calling him like small dick. I was like,
Yeah.
man, like I can understand why this guy doesn't want to leave the fucking house. Everybody knows what his dick looks like.
This is true.
Like, man, that
And
sucks.
then since he's got Papa Paul in this world, he might not have to worry about
Yeah.
that.
So Roxy ends up leaving, and Paul and Zenith are like, no, stay, please stay. We love having you. And she's like, no, I have to go. And she goes off to do more magical training. And Rudy is
Right.
left alone. And so Rudy goes out one day and he stumbles upon a young girl named Sil. Well, I just ruined it. It's
How could you?
I just ruined the story. We'll get to that later. A young boy named Sylph, who is half elf, half human, um, being picked on by people. These other kids throwing mud at him, and Rudy stands up for Sylph.
Because they think because of her hair color being green
Yeah.
that she's one of these the big demon guys that has the green hair and the red crystal, even though that's what she's missing.
And so Rudy's like, oh man, this guy's really really like pretty. He's a pretty guy, and we
Right.
act and they talk. They become friends. Rudy helps Sylph out, and they get caught into like a storm, and they go home and um, Rudy's maid is like, look, I've drawn a bath for you. And he's like, oh, come on, Sylph. Let's go take a bath together. And this is where we
Oh
get.
no, that wasn't yet.
Oh, that wasn't
That
yet?
was
Okay.
where that's where he cleaned Sylph off, and then he
Oh,
took
yeah.
Sylph home to their parents. And when he gets home, then you have the whole argument between him and Paul, and
Oh,
basically
yes. That's right. That's right. Yeah, yeah.
him
Okay.
winning the argument.
Well, you want to go into that then?
Yeah.
Okay. Talk.
So basically, one of the kids that was throwing dirt clods and stuff at Sylph told his mother, and the mother came to tell Paul. And Paul basically sits there and scolds Rudeus, basically telling him like, "Hey, there's no excuses, all this other stuff."
Yeah.
And Rudeus basically turns the tables on him and says, you're scolding me. Should I not do what you've been teaching me the whole time, as far as it goes, um,
Yeah.
defending the weak? Which I like. There's one part in there. He knows what he's about to say, and he knows what's about to happen,
Mm-hmm.
and he basically like says the thing and gets Paul to slap him.
Well, Paul
And
slaps him regardless because he thinks he's lying. Like Paul
right,
believes the people that showed up to tell him that Rudy was being a dick. You know.
right. Well, he slaps him like you can tell that that's why he did that because he was trying to slap him because he was being insolent on top of all that stuff.
Yeah.
Like he knew he was going to say the one thing that he did and get Paul to basically hit him, and that was going to basically trap Paul with him. And then he turned around, basically now Paul has to listen to him. He's like, why do you want me to defend people if this is how you want me to do? Do you want me to join in next time and basically like beat up on a kid, or do you want me to just turn my back on him and not do anything? Which really hits home for Paul because that's kind of what he's instilled in Rudeus this whole time.
Yeah.
So I love how he kind of flipped the tables on him. It was
Oh
like,
yeah, he does. He does that at another point in time as well within this volume, which we will get to.
right.
But yeah, no, that scene was
So
pretty. That scene was really good. That was like a really good like character building moment. Like
yes,
because Paul
and
automatically.
I think
Go
I
ahead.
think it was one of those moments too that was really good, in the aspect of Rudeus, or we find out that the years that he has from being on Earth play
Mhm.
a huge role into his
Yes.
character in this world.
Yeah, most definitely they do. You know, there are times where he does slink back into that creepy guy territory, but then you see like because of the traumatic events that he's had in the real world, like it's helped him grow as a character, as a person in this world, and has bettered him as a person. You know, that's one thing that I really like about this is we see we very much do have a flawed character in Rudeus, and
Yes,
he has to grow up all over again. You know,
yes,
yeah,
and well, I mean, and I think we get to see how his character from the previous world actually develops with this.
yeah. No, that's definitely true.
Because he overcomes a lot through that.
Yeah. Okay.
But we have where he starts training Sylph, and then we
Yeah.
have
So
this part that you were
yeah,
talking about.
yeah. So we get this big training montage, which is pretty cool. I like it, where he starts to teach Sylph, and Sylph even has there's the dogs.
Sorry about that.
They always show up in every episode.
I think they're jealous.
I think they're jealous,
They're
Yeah.
jealous. They want to be in an episode.
But we get this training montage, and Sylph actually does what Rudeus does, where she doesn't have to cast or say the spell to use magic anymore. So she's developing as
Right.
well as a magician. And we get the scene where they get trapped in the rain and they go to take the bath, and Sylph is like, "Nah, I don't need to take a bath with you. Like, it's all good." And he's like, "No, we're taking a bath." And he's like, "What's up with this guy? What is his problem?" You know?
Right.
And she's like, "Oh, maybe he doesn't know how to take off his clothes." No, that's not it. What happens is, so Sylph is standing there with like a shirt off and has like underwear on, and um, he's like, "Okay, well, whatever, wear that in the bath." So Rudy pantses Sylph, and Rudy finds out that Sylph is actually a girl. Sylph has always been a girl. Rudy was just too stupid to see that Sylph was a girl.
Right.
Yeah. And his excuse, he thought that Sylph was a boy because Sylph had short hair.
Yes.
No, Sylph is a girl. So when you saw this part, what did you think of it?
Oh,
Did you
well,
see?
I was already thinking that Sylph was the girl to begin with,
Did
and
you
I
see
was
it
like,
coming?
yeah. Whenever they were like, "Oh, well, we're in you bath," and he started stripping down, I was like, "Oh no."
I had my moments when I originally read this part,
Hmm.
and I was like, I think Sylph is a girl because on the back you see Sylph in like this like squatting pose almost,
In one of those poses.
one of those poses kind of,
Yeah.
and I'm like, I think that's a girl, and I'm like, oh no, it can't be a girl. Then I was like, oh wait, it's a girl.
Right.
Yeah, because no, I mean, I don't know if they just like do a really bad job of hiding it, or they just are kind of like, we'll just let you figure it out,
Right.
which causes Rudy and their relationship to kind of, I don't want to say strain a little bit, but like he starts to act weird around her because he knows that she's a girl, and she's like, look, just be yourself, it's all good, we'll start from scratch, everything's just gonna be the same as it is, I'm a girl.
Right.
Yeah, I like Sylph and Rudy's relationship. I think it's cute and adorable.
I I was a little upset with both the anime and the manga. I feel like it wasn't developed enough.
It well, they come back
If
later
that
on.
makes sense. Yeah. I mean, but that's kind of. I wish that we had gotten a little more time with them together
Yeah.
to get a little more invested before all the other stuff that happens by the end of this one.
Oh no, most definitely. All right, sorry about that. We're back. We had to take a little short break. So after the whole debacle with Sylph, we find out that Rudy and Paul have been training with Rudy's swordsmanship and his sword training, and we find out that between this time, Zenith is with child, and she's working out in the garden, and Paul's like, "Don't." Was it Paul who said, "Don't overwork yourself"? No, it was Lila who says, "Don't overwork yourself." That's what it was.
Yes.
So we see Rudy and Paul are so happy. Rudy's especially happy because he's gonna have another uh, a brother or sister. He hopes for his sister, and we find out where we get our first plot twist of many plot twists within this manga.
Ooh.
We see Lila is sick. She's throwing up, and she's like, "Oh, by the way, I'm pregnant as well."
I too am
I
preggers.
too am pregnant. And so we see them all sitting down at the table eating dinner, and we get this. Do you want to describe what happens?
We get this kind of like, Paul, you motherfucker. um, I mean, that's basically what we get. We have where Zenith basically slaps Paul, and she is basically trying to have a quote unquote almost one on one with Lilia. Um, Without Paul, Paul's in the next room
Yeah,
and trying to figure out what fate's going to be basically for
yeah. And
Lilia.
Paul's like, "Oh, no, 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 no." And she's like, "Shut the fuck up."
Right. Paul, I'll rip your face off.
I'll rip your face off, Paul. You're the worst. And so
So,
Lila says, like, this is what's going to happen. This is what I was planning to do, was that she was going to be there for Zenith to deliver Zenith's baby. And then after that, she was going to have her baby and then go off to her village where she originally came from.
right.
And but with the baby being so young and just after childbirth, um, Zenith was like, you're not going to survive. Versus as well as a child is not going to survive
Right.
this
Which the anime is a little different with this too because it's in the middle of winter.
Yeah, that's true. It's true.
I don't know if we know that if it's winter at this time, but
No, it's not. It's not winter anywhere in this manga at this point.
okay.
It's just like normal day. But
Yeah.
and she's like, no, this is what's gonna happen. Like, you're not gonna be do that, and I'm not gonna have like that on my conscience. I'm not gonna send you to your death, nor your child to death. Or potential death.
Right. And we also get a little help from Rudeus, so
Yes. Do you want to talk about this and what his? I'm still a little confused
yes.
about what his role in this was.
What Rudeus's role is with
Like what he was
that.
trying to accomplish
Oh,
was
so what he ended up doing was basically um, demonizing Paul. Did you stop talking?
If you haven't heard about Anchor, it's the easiest way to make a podcast. Let me explain. It's free. There are creation tools that allow you to record and edit your podcast right from your phone or computer. Anchor will distribute your podcast for you so it can be heard on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, and many more. You can make money from your podcast with no minimum listenership. It's everything you need to make a podcast in one place. Download the free Anchor app or go to anchor.fm to get started. Sorry about that, guys. We had some technical difficulties on our end for recording. So let's get back into this. We were talking about the section of this manga. We find the big plot twist where Paul was very unfaithful. He's going to have a love child. And Rudy was kind of throwing him under the bus for this aspect. Jen, you were in the middle of talking, so I don't want to interrupt you
Yeah.
with this big revelation when it comes to old Paul.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because you were asking why Rudy threw him under the bus, right?
Yeah, I was trying to figure exactly why he did what he did because I was a little confused on that. Even rereading it and watching the anime,
Yeah.
I was like, is he trying to wedge put a wedge between Zenith and Paul
Right.
with this whole thing? I was trying to figure out what exactly he's trying to do because
Yeah. No, I think what Rudy was trying to do was basically set it up where everything was still okay.
mhm.
Because if they did go with it, the friendship between Lilia and Zenith might have like crumbled.
Yeah.
And he knew like she was already kind of contorted about it anyway.
Uh-huh.
And I think that just to make sure entirely that she was on one side of the fence of letting Lilia stay, that he threw Paul under the bus, knowing that everything would be okay.
So why do you think, like, with this thing, this aspect to where Paul cheated on Zenith, normally when somebody cheats, the person who was cheated on leaves, correct?
Right,
And why do you think Zenith stayed? Like, why do you think that aspect is, for her character?
right. Well, I mean, because it's a medieval setting, and
Mm-hmm.
in a medieval setting, everything back in the day, you actually stayed with the person no matter what, basically. And
Mm-hmm.
so I think that's kind of the same thing that we see here, where the characters were going to stay together, but it's, hey, is Lilia going to get kicked out?
Yeah.
Because most of the time,
You mean Lila?
yeah, whatever her name was,
I
it's like Lilia.
I think it's Lila. I
I don't
think.
know.
I don't remember. I call her Lila.
Lila,
Anyway, sorry.
Lila.
Go ahead.
I don't know. I can't remember.
Go ahead.
But so I feel like that's kind of what was on the fence,
Mm-hmm.
and um, Rudy throwing out all the positives of, oh, well, now I have 2 siblings, and
Hmm.
um, oh, well, she's such a good maid, and I love her, and all this other stuff. For the small price of throwing Paul under the
Oh,
bus.
wasn't it? Wasn't it? I think I remember why he helps Lila out because Lila finds
Yeah,
his holy relic, which was he stole a pair of Roxy's panties,
his Roxy panties.
his Roxy panties, and he had to help her out because she did not rat him out
Right.
when she found.
Well, I mean, I think there was just a lot of stuff because he said that just the kind of person she was, he didn't want
Uh-huh.
her to not be in his life, because one of the other things, and I can't exactly remember if it was in the manga or not, but it was in the anime where he was
Hmm.
talking about how she would prepare like a snack before, like
Yeah.
after his lesson, and if it rained, that she would give him like a hot bath
Uh-huh.
or run him a hot bath and everything. Like she would do all this other stuff for him, that was comfortable and comforting and everything else.
Yeah.
And you know, that was basically
Hmm.
just it.
Yeah. I couldn't tell whether or not he had like an agenda when it came to this aspect of
Oh,
his.
like he was gonna try and sleep with her.
I mean, I don't know.
No, I don't think.
Or maybe he just wanted to have Zenith
I,
all to himself. I don't
I
know.
don't think that's what would happen. I think I think he is developing more of
Like a bond.
the son of them. Like
Uh
he's
huh.
developing the bond to not say, oh, well, they're different.
Yeah.
Um, but I mean, the other funny thing is we are seeing a lot of the aspect of, especially with like the beginning of the next book and everything, we're seeing a lot of how Rudy is basically a Paul.
That is true.
I
That
mean
is
that's the
true.
that's the sad truth. Like, because right now he's already got Sylph, he's already got Roxy that he's basically got his eyes on,
Yeah.
and he's got uh the new girl that's about to come up.
Eris.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
So
What did you think when you got to this part of the manga? What were your thoughts on how this big thing that came about, Like, were you taken
yeah.
back? Were you surprised?
Um Honestly, I was kind of surprised when she first was like, "Oh, I'm pregnant."
Yeah.
And then I didn't catch, like, I caught it, but I didn't, where they said, "Oh, well, we know who it was by." And I was like, "Who?" There's not been anybody around for that to happen. Like,
Yeah.
who? And Paul and Zenith seemed like such a great couple at the beginning, like you never think
Yeah.
about it.
Yeah, no, true.
And
Yeah.
you know, well, and then you kind of get the whole part where she brings up like, oh, she seduced Paul to
Yeah.
sleep with her.
Because she
Um,
wanted like that human connection.
yeah.
She
Well, I
wanted
mean,
what
not only that, she said that, like, how long does it take for you to hear people sleeping together in the
Oh,
next room
that's true.
before you? I mean, we already saw it. Like, she held out longer than Roxy did, basically.
Yeah, Roxy was only there for like I think a day.
Yeah, or like a week or something. I think
Yeah,
it was already like, oh, hold on,
yeah. I mean, to be fair though, Paul and Zenith were really loud.
all the time,
They were loud.
all the time,
They were like going at it like fucking rabbits. It seemed like.
right? And I'm surprised that it took uh Rudy until getting to like 5. When
Yeah.
did he leave? When is he
Uh,
about to get this job right here at the end?
he leaves like
5 or 6, maybe.
I think he's 6 because the kids are born when he leaves.
Let me think.
Yeah,
No,
he's
he
like
was 8.
something like that. Yeah,
Yeah, he was 8. That's what it was.
but
Because
anyways,
5 years he's going to be 13.
let's move
Um,
along.
yeah, but I mean, that's kind of the whole thing. Is it's kind of like, hey, here's all this
Yeah,
stuff.
yeah, it was a pretty crazy revelation to say the least because you don't normally see that in manga, you know?
right?
Uh,
But that's what I'm saying. Like, I'm surprised that she didn't get pregnant again after that.
oh,
Like
yeah, that's
for the
true.
longest time, like as
That's
much
true.
as they were doing it,
Yeah.
they should have already had like 10 kids. So
Yeah, that yeah, for sure. Yeah. Um, so after this whole thing that happens, this whole life-changing
oh,
event.
let me point one more thing out
Okay. Go ahead.
because, and I think we've already pointed it out once, but I don't think we pointed it out towards this
All
subject.
right. All right.
About how Paul has a past with all three of these ladies that we meet in the first, or
Oh,
mostly meet.
yeah, that's true. Paul gets around.
Yeah, I mean, but he's got a past with all of them. They went to school together, and we already know that they've slept together once. So
Yeah. Well, I
it
think
will at least once.
I don't know if for Lila if it was one time before. I don't know if they really didn't say.
Right. And that's what I'm
So
saying. That's why I kind of retracted that and said,
yeah,
well, as far as we know, it was one time, but it could have been multiple times.
yeah. But as we move on after this whole life changing event, like I said, Rudy keeps training Sylph and whatnot, and he gets a letter from Roxy and seeing how Roxy is growing and learning more about magic, and I think she's up to like Emperor or King level
Yeah.
magic for water, and she's teaching at this other kingdom and this other prince who reminds her of Rudy. And Rudy's like, "Well, I need to train and get better, so I can meet Roxy again one day." And
Right.
he wants to take Sylph with him to the magical school at was it Roa University Magical School,
Something like that.
and he's like, "Yeah, let's do this." And Sylph doesn't want Rudy to go. And this is where he gets his idea to bring her with him. And he goes to Paul and he's like, "Paul, Dad, I want to go to this school to further my studies." And he's like, "No, no. One, you didn't master your swordsmanship. Two, you're too young. And three, we can't afford to send both of y'all. We're not like noble, like rich, like
Right.
noblemen, but we're like somewhat well off. We're comfortable, you
Right.
know." And this is where he decides he's going to get a job. Uh, and where is he going to go for that job?
He's going to go to one of the branches of the Grayrat family that he didn't know
Yeah. So Paul has a cousin,
about.
and uh, well, it's interesting. We'll kind of end the manga here because it leads into the second volume to
Right.
where um Paul calls on his an old uh companion, Gallahan, and Gallahan is a big titty muscular cat girl who likes to swing around a sword. Uh as
You know who this kind of reminded me of the first time I saw her?
who
If you take off the eye patch or whatever,
uh-huh.
she almost reminds me of, is it is it not Garnet? Starts with a G, but off of Tells a Wedding Ring.
Oh, yeah. No, I
I
can
was
see
sitting there
that.
like,
I can see that
oh,
kind of, yeah.
yeah.
I think it's Garnet.
I can't remember.
I can't remember what her name is.
I think there's an H in it somewhere.
Yeah. And so
Garnet.
what Paul does, he picks up this or creates this scheme to where he's fighting Rudy in training, and he basically goes all out on Rudy and like fucking knocks him out.
Right.
And Rudy wakes up on a carriage with Gallahan, and we find out that Rudy has kind of been using Sylph as somewhat of a crutch of not wanting to go out into the world. And so Paul took it upon himself to uh, separate the two, and Rudy has to
Which
go. Go
which
ahead.
with this part, do you view this part as like another, I'm gonna use a Shrek line, but
Hmm.
do you view this as him pulling another like layer of the onion away?
Yes, because
Because
the
like the first thing was uh him having to overcome all the mental stuff that he had to deal with in in our world basically, and getting over that to even leave the house, which Roxy
Uh,
showed him that.
yes, I
And
would say yes uh on the fact that he has to basically become self sufficient
yeah,
and learn to live on by himself or learn to live away from his family.
right,
And that goes into a whole nother thing later on,
right,
because he goes off to teach this distant cousin of his named Eris, and she's like a tsundere, very feisty, combative character.
yeah, which
And huh,
they are
what?
third cousins
I think third cousins. I think it is
or second cousins once removed, maybe.
something like that. Yeah, it's like a very distant cousin,
Yeah. Well,
and
not so distant because Paul and what's his face are cousins.
yeah, that's true. Probably
So
second or third cousins.
yeah,
And we end this manga where Rudy goes off for this 5 years. He cannot have any contact whatsoever with his family, and he has to go raise money to get into the school,
right.
which it
Which
takes him.
is
Go
weird
ahead.
that Paul requested that of him.
Yeah, yeah, it's
Not
weird.
don't get in contact with us.
Yeah, don't contact us, you little bitch. You
Yeah,
know, like shit. But he doesn't go. It takes him a while to get to the school. Like so many things happen. I don't want to spoil it for you, like
right. Which
because
the other weird thing is just thinking about it. Like, so if he's supposed to train Eris for 5 years and he left when he was 8,
yeah,
then he'll be 13,
yeah,
right?
true.
So if he does that and he turns 13, then he'll only have 3 years before the original thing where Roxy said, "Wait till you're 16 to ask me,"
Yeah.
basically ask me out again.
Well, the thing is with Roxy, um, like at some point, like Rudeus and Eris, they get separated and they end up going out into the demon continent. And
Yeah,
then Roxy finds out, and Roxy goes after them to try to find them.
right,
And that kind of kickstarts her journey as well, which parallels Rudy's journey throughout the manga. And I want to say they eventually do meet back up, but it takes a while for them to like get reconnected with each other. It's like kind of um like two people passing in the wind, like they just missed each other type of situation.
right,
And it does affect them. It affects every like the thing that happens like affects everybody within the story, which is crazy. Which I don't want to go into too much detail about this. I don't want to spoil too much. Uh, but it's crazy when it happens. And it happens, I think, in like the third or fourth volume.
right.
So it comes up, but then like they kind of stretch it out to
Oh, you mean where he gets teleported? I
yeah, where
think
he
it
gets
happens at the end of the third, beginning of the fourth.
yeah, he gets teleported away to the demon continent. And yeah, that's kind of where the volume ends. He goes off to become a teacher himself, become a master himself to somebody who doesn't give two shits about him.
Right.
you know. Um, but what did you think about this first volume as a whole?
I would say I really enjoyed it.
Yeah.
I feel like it did create the world a lot for us
Mm-hmm.
and gave us some much needed stuff for what was to come.
Yeah.
Um, because uh, we didn't know about the demon races at all, or about the one that everybody's like, oh, you need to avoid this one.
Yeah. The superb.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I mean, we have a lot where there's all this different stuff like that actually like
Yeah.
helped us.
Yeah. This is one of those manga that I feel like it's a cut above the rest when it comes to isekai light novel adaptions. Because
hmm
when you're dealing with a lot of the isekai tropes, it's a lot of like, I don't want to say like cookie cutter. Oh, I'm super strong when I get to this world, and Rudy had to work for it, which one thing I really do like is that he has to work for his power and to get stronger, and he does have weaknesses, which are his limitations and himself as well. He's not
Right,
a perfect character. He's very flawed. You know.
right. And I think that's one of the things that I like too is like we see how hard he's worked.
Yeah.
Like it, in a if it was a D&D sheet, I feel like
Hmm.
he would be pretty okay in strength. Magic, like his intelligence would be good. Um, charisma would be good. Dexterity would be good. And then we kind of get to where his wisdom is, which is his past life, and
Hmm.
that's just kind of completely gone to shit. He's having to learn how to overcome it
Yeah.
and everything, even though he's got such good stats and everything else.
Yeah, that is true. He's what do you call it? Not like book smart. I mean, he's sort of book smart, but he's still learning about the world.
Yeah.
He's just using his past experiences as knowledge.
Which I mean, I'm still waiting because didn't they say that there's three major magics in the world or
Yeah,
something?
something like that. There's three different classes of how good you are.
Yeah,
I think it's Emperor. I can't remember what they are called. It's like
yeah,
a intermediate, apprentice, immediate, intermediate. I think. Uh, Emperor and King.
I
I
think so.
think it is because there's three different sword styles as well.
Right. Which that's what I can't remember if there's more to wizard because a couple times they say like, oh well, if you're learning, there's like five, and then if you're doing this, then there's three, and then if you're doing this, then there's seven, and it
I
just kind of works itself
I
around.
can't remember off the top of my head. I do know I think each wizard has like a specialty that they do,
Yeah. So
and maybe they level up each specialty.
maybe.
I can't remember. Um,
But I'm waiting for him to get a little older where he's better with the sword as well.
yeah, he when you get to volume 12 and 13 is where they have another time skip,
Yeah.
and I think it's like a 2 or 3 year time skip,
Okay.
maybe 4. I haven't gotten to volume 12 or 13 yet, but I know there's a time skip that happens, and they end up stuff happens. Like,
Stuff happening.
yeah, stuff happens,
Yeah.
because it goes until he's like 30, so we have more to go.
Right.
So he's only like 13, I think, at the moment.
Wonder if we'll live through his life up to what he lived before.
I think
So
if I remember correctly, I think that's how it works.
so he'll live up to like age 32.
Yeah, something like that. Yeah. But yeah, it's interesting manga. It's one that does a lot of world building, and one that I feel like it's very much a world like Shield Hero is, where it's a
hmm
lived in world. It's and it's a world that has consequences to everybody's actions, which
Right.
I really like. I don't like it when it's like, oh, you just stole this or killed this person. Like nothing's gonna happen to you, and this, it's like, oh, like terrible things will happen to you if you like do this shitty stuff.
Right.
Which I like. I think Rudy becomes a fleshed out character going along the way, and I feel like he's like it's like we're starting off
Right.
in this aspect.
We're like the one thing,
I would love to see
this is
how.
the way.
Yeah, this is the way. I would love to see if at all the light novel diverges from the manga at any point,
hmm
or vice versa.
Hmm.
Which I'll have to figure that out and see, because I think they had to revise the light novel because I think it was getting censored at points,
Yeah.
and I that's what I heard from Lion. Lion told me that.
Okay.
Yeah. So we'll have to see about that. What would you give this? Would you give it a recommendation? What would you give it score wise?
Probably like a 4.5.
Would you recommend it to anybody who's looking to
I
get
would.
like fantasy stuff?
I would. I would probably recommend it to everybody that likes the other isekais that I like and whatnot.
Do you feel like this is? How do you rank it with other isekais that you've read so far? Like,
I would say it's pretty high up there.
yeah,
I would probably put it in my top 5.
because this is in my top 3, and we've already covered my other 2.
I'll have to get farther into it for that.
Yeah, I can't believe you slept on this one for so long. Like,
Whatever.
what?
Whatever.
I mean, come on. Like, I don't know. I think it's good. Do you want to try to cover the spinoff at any point?
Sure.
Or read the
Yeah, I mean,
spinoff?
we got a couple spin-off of things to cover.
That's true. That is true. But yeah, I would honestly rate this a 5 out of 5 for a first volume. It actually has pretty good reread value. I noticed things here and there that I didn't notice before, and I picked up on things. And it was good. I liked it. I would definitely recommend this to anybody who is looking for something new. And
Yeah.
because I remember I would push this manga a lot in my early days of YouTube, and I'll be like, yeah, everybody should check this out. It's fucking good.
Isn't that true?
Yeah.
Well, they weren't friends with you because you pushed it a lot more with me.
I mean, that's true. I pushed this on everybody. I was like, look, because there was a lot of isekai hate going around, you know?
Right?
Because I think we were getting isekai overloaded. And I think we still are a little bit. But people are like, isekai sucks. Not all isekai suck. This is a good one, in my opinion. But let's wrap this up.
Ramp it.
If you want to leave us a voicemail, you can do so at anchor.fm/otakuology, or down in the link below, we will have a link to leave us a voicemail. And we will play your voicemail on the podcast. We'll answer your question.
Yeah.
If you have a question or topic you'd like us to cover, and you can catch us on all major podcast platforms. If you'd like to support the podcast, you don't have to do financially. Just listen and share, rate and review the podcast on whatever podcast platform you listen to us on. That is the best way that you can help support our podcast.
Yeah.
In all honesty, like, if you help us grow, we will be able to put better shows out for you in the long run. Yeah, that's how it is. You can check us out on Instagram. Check out our individual YouTube channels. If you don't like listening to this, you can listen to us on the YouTube whenever we upload those videos to our YouTube channel.
Who are you kidding though? You'll love it listening to us on here.
I mean, regardless, like, listen to us on everywhere. Just play us all at once on every platform.
Yes.
Yes. Yeah.
But, all of them just whoop.
But where or when can they see us next, Jen?
You can see us, as always, next Tuesday.
That's right.